Hello, friends and friends of APBA Golf. Dr. TC here, and I've been asked to demonstrate hitting around the trees in APBA Golf. I'm here with Phil, and we are on the third hole at Queen City of this beautiful APBA Golf course. And Phil has driven the ball 45 yards left of the center line, about 285 yards out. He's not in a tree. But if he'd like to hit to the green, he's going to have to hit over this tree, so he's behind a tree. Now, Phil has some options, like every other golfer. He could simply pitch out safely and use the safe column of the tree line chart. He'd select a yardage and get a plus minus from that. He'd just simply move along this perpendicular line relative to the center line. But that's not a great option. He'd still be way back at 285 off the tee. You could choose option 2. And he would have to determine his clearance. If he wants to hit over this tree, he's going to have a lofted club, a highly lofted club that'll get him over that tree, and then he'd just play the shot normally. Let's see what that clearance is, and I'm going to define it for you to make it a little bit more understandable. The clearance in APBA we define as the distance between the golf ball and the first point of impediment on the tree en route to the throat of the green. So we just sort of aim for the center of the green. That will be this intersection, this perpendicular line that first crosses the green and the center line. So what's Phil got? Well, if we want to be super accurate, and you lay it out this way, you try and move towards that tree and count it exactly. I mean, each one of these grids is 5 centimeters. If you did it perfectly, you'd get about 32 yards or something. But a quick APBA way is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It's pretty close. You can see he's got about 30 yards to get over that tree. So he has to find a club that will get over that tree, that will get up in the air quickly enough and only take 30 yards to do it. So let's talk a little bit about clearance, and I'll draw a little diagram here. So here is some terrain, and here's a pin up here, and here's a golfer right here, and he's going to hit a shot. It's going to hit a pitching wedge, and it's going to go like that. We'll label it pitching wedge, and we'll dot the apex. That's the highest point that the club reaches. Next, if he hits a 7-iron, he'll hit the 7-iron about here. It'll go further, but you'll notice the apex is about the same. And that's true for all golf clubs. Even a 3-iron, it just takes a long time for that 3-iron to reach the same height as the other clubs. But all irons have about the same maximum height. So let's take this fella down here, this same guy, and here is a spruce he's got to hit over. There's a pine tree right in front of him. What's he going to hit? Well, he's not going to hit a 3-iron. It won't even get halfway through. 7-iron will go right into it. He'd get that pitching wedge right up over it, just like Phil might be able to get a wedge over it. We call this distance that I've described between the golfer and the first impediment of this tree, we call that clearance. And the longer it is, the further away it is, the longer club you can hit. All right, so what's APBA do for us? APBA is going to give us some tree clearance yardage with every single club. I'm going to go all the way to the approach from 75 to 100 in the rough, and I notice that clearance is 30 yards. So Phil could take this approach, and he could hit it normally. So he would count 5 for every 15 back, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 50, 75. So anywhere from here to here, 75 to 100. He could call out his distance and use this chart, and then if he got something like hole plus dice roll, he would simply use his average I. All right, he could do that, but that's not a great option because if we zoom in a little bit in, we see that that's kind of tightly packed to the rough and trees. Besides, he's Phil. He's going to hit around the trees and go for the green. So let's take a look at what we do in APBA Golf. We know that the best he can do to get over is a approach shot. He's not going to be able to get it 200 yards down here with a 3-iron or a 4-iron. In fact, let's go to the 4-iron, and you're going to see from the rough, he needs 95 yards between him and a tree clearance to use this club to hit it over the tree. So he's going to have to work it around the tree. He's going to have to work the ball. And that's to curve the ball, hit around the tree, and curve it back to his intended target. And he can do that maximum 35 yards from the rough. So what we like you to do in APBA, this is how we're going to simulate that. You count the amount back to the center line and just double it. So he was 45 yards off. He's got to go another 45, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 to this blue one. Does that mean Phil's aiming at that blue one? No, that's silly. What it allows us to do is say, look, your new target, your new attack line is going to run this way. You got to come all the way out here, because essentially Phil is aiming approximately to this blue number 2, and so we're going to go from 1 to 2 and hopefully curve it back into the fairway. So he's got to use this new line. Just double the distance back, and this is your new line. Simple as that. Well, let's see how he does. This is not going to be easy from the rough. He's going to try a 4-iron because I've already measured, and this is 175, and so if he curves it back, that would be 200. He needs about 210 to get anywhere near the green, so it's going to take a really, really good shot. Let's see how Phil does. We roll for his shot. We get a 15. It's a 4-iron, so he's got to use a W, so he gets a 3 from the rough of a 4-iron, and that is 190 yards. It goes right 10. That's not a great start to this shot. So Phil goes 175, 185, 175, 90 yards, but it goes right 10. Ouch. Let's see how he does in working the ball. He rolls a 54. A 54 from the W column is a 14. 54 is a 15. A 15 working the ball from the rough. Working the ball from the rough, a 15 is plus 10. That's what we needed. So in addition to the 35, he's got another 10. So he works at 45 to the left. And by the way, it rolls 15 yards. So he gets it 45 yards from there. So let's work that out. 45 yards. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Right in the edge of the fairway. It rolls 15, 5 in the rough. And there's 10 yards left. He only gets half of that, and he had a beautiful shot. Good job, Phil. Right in front of that bunker with nice, clean access to pins 2, 3, and 6. Much better than a wimpy little pitch out or a little lob shot with a approach. That's not Phil. What Phil did is he took a shot way out over here and curved it back as only Phil would do and set it right up in front of the green. Well, friends, until our next video, I hope this is helpful, and I bid you farewell.